Okie dokie. What's going on, everybody? Trying something a little bit new with the cameras and pre-stream and all that good stuff. So hopefully that worked okay. All right. Can you guys hear me in the chat all right? Oh man, that's funny. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. All right, cool. We're live. Alrighty. So, good evening. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hope you guys had a good trading day. Super volatile, of course, for us. That is good. But super volatile, super crazy day. Lots of gains, lots of upside, lots of downside, a lot of anticipation for earnings. We saw explosive movements from Tesla, as always. When that thing decides to rip, it rips, and it sure did that. Exactly that, hitting over $1,000. So pretty cool. So, real quick before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and share this really quick on Twitter and all that good stuff real quick. There we go. There we go. So gonna go ahead and link that out really quick. So you guys can see in the bottom hand corner of my screen, hopefully, the resolution isn't off too much. Trying to do something really quick. Let me try something really quick here. So bottom right hand corner of my screen, that's what I am looking to have you guys look at as far as, and I will post a screenshot of it so you guys can go back and go over each part of these tickers. This is a good way to stay organized. I I will, well, in the future, we're gonna try and just focus primarily on stocks. And then in my free time, I'm happy to chart whatever crypto. But I'm trying to cap this at around 25 tickers tonight, guys. I have to make sure that I get good rest and get prepared to be able to wake up early tomorrow. Um, so yeah, so you guys will be able to see your request right there. I will be getting to those in chronological order. Really quickly, as always, I like to go over the news. Hold on, let me move over these comments really quick. Yeah, these requests are going to be dropped in there. So if you guys can't see them, they're probably going to be down there. Alrighty. So right off the bat, BKKT. I know there's already requests for that one today. All four major indexes traded positive. The Russell 2000 was up 0.93% as a leader. NASDAQ up 0.47%. And then S&P and Dow hitting record highs. So bull market, yeah. So Bitcoin also rebounded 3.2% above 63K. We also saw Ethereum moving to 42 or 4.2K. Crypto exchange and wallet BKKT had an impressive run today after the company announced two separate deals with both MasterCard and Fiserv. So that was one of the ones moving around 234% today. So PayPal rose 2.7% after ending the rumors that it plans to buy Pinterest for $45 billion, and Pens dropped like a hot rock. Unfortunately, I did have I was long on Pinterest, but I did have a straddle set up, so I came out of that trade rather unscathed. But anyway, closing prints for the S&P 456. We have the NASDAQ at 50. Oh, whoops, wrong one. I was looking at the wrong numbers. But S&P up 0.47%, Nasdaq 0.90%, Russell up 0.93%, and the Dow up 0.18%. So, thank you. All right, really quick. All right. Yeah. What'd you say? A $2,000 return on a $1,000 investment? Yeah, that's a great return. I'd be happy with something like that. Sorry, I made myself a little bit smaller. Alrighty. So other than that, we did have Facebook earnings. After last week's snap, Facebook, of course, was up against quite a lot. Here in aftermarket, for those of you who hopefully did not set up straddles, Facebook is going to open up probably relatively flat, but if it doesn't go down, inevitably sometimes, for the most part, it will go back up. But the social media giant missed revenue, but narrowly bested analyst estimates on earnings. The company posted a EPS of $3.22. The analysts expected $3.19 and a revenue of 29.01 billion. They did expect 29.57 billion. So they were still up over 35% year over year. So and of course they're possibly going to be changing some names. So all right, well, without any more delay, of course you guys saw Tesla hitting over $1,000. This was from, if you don't know, probably already do, but Hertz and Tesla striking a deal for over 100,000 Tesla Model 3 vehicles, which would represent over a fifth of the company's rental fleet. So alrighty, let's go ahead and get started with these requests. And it's probably best. I am going to. Oh, I actually had the wrong one up. Where's number one? Oh, there it is. So we are going to start with EXPE. This one's coming from within the Discord. So, how is Shiba gonna go up, guys? I'm not a Shiba guy. I'm not that guy. So I could do some analysis on it at the end, right before I leave, but that's not really my primary focus tonight. So alrighty, so we have EXP. Looks like they have earnings coming up on November 4th. So we have ran up into those earnings, sitting right back up with what looks to be, and this is the daily point of control, at least for this time frame. Again, anytime, and I want to voice this week in particular, you guys might hear me say this a lot, but earnings has everything to do with where these stocks are going to go in the future. Now, looking at EXP, it definitely looks like it's sitting on a dynamic support. It's also sitting at a so a psychological support and dynamic support of 160. So anywhere in this area, after seeing the price movement up top, I'd like to see a decent bounce off of this level for hopefully what would be, and I would set a horizontal ray here, because this is obviously a serious level. 175, this is a zone, little supply above you. So 173 and 175. So those would be two places that I would be looking for if you get some type of bounce. Now, again, we are really, really close to earnings. We don't have a lot of time before that. So honestly, if it hasn't bounced yet, you may see a run up to that point of control to 170. But it will have a lot of the times when you get close to earnings like this, you're going to have sentiment or even just worry as to what the potential movement could be, because a lot of people are trying to be smart and they're not trying to take bets, and a lot of times it's read and react, and people will buy those things in after hours. But in my opinion, this kind of candle here, this is close to a dragonfly doji, more of a dragonfly, or more of just a long-legged doji, where these tend to be reversal candles. So a lot of times on the daily, I'll use the top of what today's high would be as a potential entry to the upside. And then usually I'm looking for one of my nearest moving averages. Of course, you guys know I'd like to use the 9-day moving average, but the nearest moving average that we have right now is at 165. And one of the reasons that I like to use my moving averages like this is because they tend to line up with those psychological levels. 165 is absolutely a stopping place. So that would be the target for EXPE tomorrow, of course, using that top wick 162.75 as a potential entry with good volume and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's kind of it. Would you Quinn, would you like me to I'll just tweet it out for you anyway. So that one's on my Twitter. Just with the mark and my levels. So I'll at you too, so you don't have to look for it or anything. Maybe. All right. Well, I'm just gonna tweet that out because I can't. Your ticker's not coming out. So, or your tag is not coming out. So, all right. All right. So the next one is XOM. Oh my God. That could be fun. Yeah. So flow. Yeah. Hit me up after this. Okay. So XOM. Ooh. All right. Well, I know those of you who play cup and handles, things like that. There's a multitude of different possibilities that can happen here. Of course, this is going to be a major point of resistance. Oil's been booming, energy. Um, as far as we know, I don't know if that trend is going to continue to stop as we move into winter. But in my opinion, of course, earnings is right around the corner. Momentum is slowing down a little bit. Your MACD is starting to get weak. So I think at this point, right, the rejection off of these highs of 64, it looks like that's going to be 64.75, 64.50. That range right there, that is going to be decided by earnings. Now, one thing that is always alarming to me is having massive gaps. I think that the people who are in oil, I think inevitably know that this will fall. So you probably will pull back at some point, whether that be years from now or after these earnings. But that would be a potential. If you don't do well, that would be something to look for. But like I said, there's a multitude of different possibilities when you are about to hit a new or a previous high. And this is crazy because I actually have analysis right here on XOM from before. This is actually from way back. I don't even use red lines anymore on my charts, so that's how far away that was. Um, I don't know why I don't use red lines. I just switch back and forth for no reason. But a double top could happen here. Bad earnings, double top for sure. You could get a cup and handle where if you do have earnings where things get a little bit shaky, you could just kind of taper, pull back to some of these zones down below you, $60, $61, and then potentially make your way back up after earnings. The dust settles after earnings. So unfortunately, I don't really have too much more to offer on this one due to I mean, I can go down to the hourly here, where you could do a little bit deeper analysis, but at this point, I think you're approaching earnings. Everything is a little bit overbought, so inevitably pulling back or a little bit going into earnings is not out of the question too, or just consolidating like a lot of stocks will do as they get really close to earnings. So what tends to happen after a cup and handle? Well, there's all sorts of different things. And the thing that with cup and handles is, of course, they don't always work out, and a lot of people reach for cup and handles quite often. Ooh, I don't know why I just did that, but that's a pretty interesting setup. I love Maxar. Maxar is one of my favorite companies. But just as far as concepts are concerned. But so Maxar is weekly. All right. So this is an example of a failed cup and handle. So you have what looks to be a perfect handle, and investor reaction, right, goes well. You end up seeing a breakout, right, a break and downtrend off this handle, but earnings comes. Space also dragged Maxar down, and of course that sentiment settled. It didn't have what it took. It had the setup to do it, but it didn't have the fundamentals nor the earnings that it was expected to have. So Maxar was a failed cup and handle, but what you would expect had this not occurred is you would expect some type of uptrend. And you can study, go look up different, I'm working on making some posts currently on different handle or setups. And a lot of the times you can have several different kinds of cup and handles. You can have a really bullish cup and handle where you'll see more price action happening in more of a flag setup, right? So you got like a really straight and stiff cup. Uh, sounds special. And then you have like kind of like a cool bull flag, type setup. So same price action. And then you have like what's more of a bearish reaction right here where you get strong downtrends, but still some type of reversal pattern where you can end up seeing a reversal from there. So that's kind of what tends to happen. And these can range in time frame. When people say I found one on the 5 minute, I don't really pay attention to that. But if someone says I see one on the hourly, I might take a look at it for a potential move. So I have no idea. Okay. So there are people in the Discord, and their tickers are obviously prioritized. So, BRKB. Okay. Um. Oh shit. Damn, nice breaking. So you get a breakout. This is why I hate gaps. Which I mean, I love gaps, but I hate gaps on breakouts. But um. Yeah. For sure. Good evening. What's up? What time I usually start on the weekly and the daily. A lot of the times just the daily, but yeah. Okay, so actually in this case, I'm probably going to take a look at the weekly on BRKB. So right at the bat, there's several different ways to play this pattern. A lot of people regard this as a flag. Um, or my brain is not working right now as far as the name of this is like a rectangle pattern or something like that. But regardless, this is where I would be anticipating a potential break in this dynamic downtrend. So starting off of this high here, running it off the top. Looks like you have a nice, and you can just call this a double bottom. That's what I'm going to call it now because you're bouncing off of the same support. We have a decent double bottom here going down and stepping to and this is where the technicals don't matter. I know we're charting right now, but I'm not going to lie to you that the technicals do not matter when you're so close to earnings, because the fact of the matter is you could do really well and it could go to the moon. And I would say 300 is inevitable for BRKB. And then if it doesn't do well, I would say absolutely heads right back down to the support around 272.85. And due to how close earnings is, which is October 29th, there's really not much that I can add to that except for you do have this support on BRKB. So running off of this low COVID March of last year, running here, you've been completely separated from reality as far as BRKB. Even the color of my line is aging. This thing has not revisited the support so long. So earnings could potentially have it all the way back down around that support depending on the reaction. So I just want to make that clear that if your ticker has earnings coming up, there's a good chance that you can go and find the levels, but not much else. It's not always going to adhere to your technical analysis. So, what do gaps mean? Well, you have gaps on the hourly. Well, you can have gaps on any time frame. I'll show you a gap. So, a gap is what we're going to be trying to play tomorrow. So, let's talk about that. I'm gonna take time always, guys, to answer these type of questions. These are questions that need to be answered, and especially if they pop up in your head and I'm talking about something and you're like, "What the hell did he just say?" And then you ask me, and then I answer, it's more than likely going to stick then, as if you were to just read it in the book and then never hear it again. And then all of a sudden, like some people's brains work like that. But so a gap is usually when the closing price of a certain, like of a day, could be the closing price is significantly higher or lower than the opening price of the next day. So in this case, Disney closes at 176, and this could be due to futures, due to news, all sorts of different things can cause bigger movement after hours. And not there's a statistic saying that 91.4% of gaps don't get filled. I think all the rest of those stats go to or Sony because it just doesn't it doesn't care about its gaps. But the gap here starts at 176.50 and closes at 174.55 or 50. And so oftentimes we will play gap fills to the upside or gap fills to the downside. And what that provides you is a concrete target and to the up or the downside. And a lot of the times, if it's a gap on the daily, I go 50%, right? So UPS, right? When it first ran, and I don't know, I didn't even track what it did today. But when UPS, and it did actually, oh no, it kind of sat flat today. So that's interesting. So Disney, or UPS, excuse me, let's get rid of these funky lines. So about 50% of this gap, right? You can see that's where it stops. That's my rule of thumb, and it works on the daily. But as far as the hourly is concerned, there's a bigger probability of being able to fill the entirety of that gap depending on the width. Disney is a more manageable gap that more than likely buyers will attack. And same thing with sellers. You get this is not, we're not the only people who see this. And so it's their anticipation of the gap fill that oftentimes can cause it to run. Amazon's biggest moves that it's had in the last couple months has come from the anticipation of a gap fill, and you had an earnings gap here. You filled almost all of it, and you rejected. So yeah, gaps is a great strategy. I love playing gaps. They have gap scanners. So um, even if the stock market crashes, I'll make money that way. For BKKT, that news is viable, so I think it won't dump as hard, but it's probably gonna pull back at some point. You don't run, too far without getting caught, except for when you're net, because what the heck is even that? All right, so PWR, Quanta Services. That is a nice. I don't know what that is, but that is the most wavy, artificial looking setup I've ever seen in my life. Looks like an artist, like the market maker was an artist. Beautiful. But that's just a nice revisit of support. So, ooh, look at the angle. And that's how we sometimes find our supports, is oftentimes you'll see that angle. And of course, you got to see through the noise a little bit. All right, so um add some columns, E up down reason. Oh man, that's not a terrible idea, but that's a lot of work. That's a lot of extra work. I'll look into that. Okay, so I don't want to. I only do this speculatively, okay? Because I don't chart dishonestly. I just chart how I see it. A lot of it is instinctual. So one of the reasons why I say that is this, right? For some reason, there's an obvious resistance here, and there's multiple wicks to prove it, right? These right here come from testing this zone, that 119.50 level, and that's a psychological level. You even have a test right there of 119.81. But you have three wicks right here, all held down. The rest of this all adheres and is flat and held up against that resistance until it eventually downtrends and then curls and heads back up. So my price target right now is going to be 122.50 to the upside. And I would say that you don't have too much more juice left in the gas tank. You are oversold or overbought. Your MACD is full swing. Your TTM is full swing. These are momentum indicators. They let me know where we're at in the grand scheme of things. So there is a good chance that you're going to see some type of pullback, but oftentimes what these, and granted, this is only speculative. Speculative earnings is around November 4th. So you could absolutely see that change that for sure. So PWR, I would expect again around 122.50. Then from there, it would probably be highly likely to see another touch of support, and that's right around when you'll be here. And then from there, you either if this is a reversal pattern, then I imagine you will drop down to 109, and you can take that to the bank. Not just kidding, don't do that. But that is what I think. It's not financial advice. I'm just a guy. Um, looks pretty good though. Yeah, I'll go ahead and tweet that out for you. A lot of the times the chart will set up earnings. That doesn't happen all the time, but we have seen that many of the times. I think that there is such thing as market structure. Well, I don't think I know. I always lean back to Dollar Tree as a way to show that to people. So, um, all right. So MIK is the next one. That's Mike. Whoa. Okay. So first of all, what happened here? That's what I want to know. What did they do? And are they gonna do it again? Have they learned their lesson? What is this? All right, so oh my God, I can't even. My chart doesn't even want to bring this up. All right, so this is where I have to. I don't even know if I don't even know if my chart's gonna let me pull it up. It's so here. Let me do this. All right, so this is barcode trading. It's mostly robots trading shares back and forth to each other. Um, there's obviously a reason why it fell so hard. I have no idea why. There's not much really to even chart here, um, without stretching it and making it something up. You know what I mean? Like there's not much here that I can offer you as technicals. Like I could stretch it, but my chart literally won't even allow me the to do so. Um and looking at it, I think it's simple. Um, wherever that gap starts 430, and I might have to go look at this um some other chart, maybe even like Weeble. I can take a look at this really quickly. Let me make sure that my account isn't logged in to something, or my information is not available for everybody to see. Hold on one second. All right, I'm looking at. Give me 1 second. Wow. Yeah, my chart's having a hard time. Okay, so it looks like your high is $3.08. Your low is $3.63. Your break and downtrend comes at $3.73. And I'm not gonna lie to you, there's nothing more I can really say about this chart. This is the I would look into the fundamentals on this straight up. This a gap. All right, so just this may be a gap that never gets filled. That could be a thing. It could never ever get filled because if it really dropped from $40 to $4, clearly they screwed up, in some regard. So 4-wheel motors requested. I got it. Oh, I messed it up, Kenneth. I messed it up. Young Dagger's request. I went to go fix things and I made it worse. Uh, oh God, everything's bad. There we go. All right, I fixed it. Okay, well, I didn't fix that one. Yeah, thank you. You're the best. All right. What's the next one? All right. So we're gonna go ahead and move to skills. Oh, that's not a ticker. All right. So this one was sick. Skills moved up really, really nicely. So far, from our previous analysis that we did on skills, it is moving up really well out of the break and downtrend, approaching earnings on November 3rd. So, of course, the nearest resistance that I have that I've set before is 1175. That still stands. You can see that the RSI is highly reactive, so it wouldn't take too much more to put it overbought. I think 13 this level right over here, this is going to be 1350. That's the only other feasible level I see above that. Of course, volume and price action reign king here, but uh, local or sentiment as well is going to help. But the whole ribbon indicator is turning green. They have trended down into this earnings, so opening. Well, I guess that's actually really interesting. So, their last earnings was around 1365, which is exactly where I'm basically laying this price target to the upside. So this is exactly where it got to last earnings. So I'll just set these levels for you. Take a look right there, and then right there. So those are three levels that I'd be looking at skills to the upside. This is going to be again 1165, and then above that we have 12 1260. I guess that kind of ranges. You see $12 to $13, 1260 to $13 is a small little range there, and above that you have 1365. So um, but so far so good. One thing that often will happen, and it's not guaranteed, but one thing that could happen here, you have again multitude of different things coming up to earnings because earnings could change everything and blow this out of the water. But of course, you could end up trending down or staying in this zone going into earnings. That would potentially set you up for an inverse head and shoulders, and you could break out. If you do not, and you end up um, doing well, you could just end up making that immediate run for that 1375. But from what I can tell here on skills, it's picking up, and I need to turn the volume on. It's picking up in volume. We've got decent volume running into earnings. And then one of the things I'd like to see as well is where our EMAs are. Okay, so you're sitting at that 50. Yeah, so I don't think you have too much more ahead of you besides 1136, but yeah, nice job on skills if you held. But that one did tap 1138 today. It doesn't look terrible for continuation. This is kind of where I'd like to go down to the hourly time frame and really get a look. So far, it looks like you're ending the day with an hourly bull flag. I would look for a wick fill 1131, good volume like you saw today. But of course, you see RSI, MACD both showing signs of a potential pullback. Pullback levels are 1085, and then below that you have breakout 1050. Right below that 1045. So literally just a few levels below your for a bounce. But all right, moving forward. So if you guys don't remember my analysis last week that we ended with a doji, so it could go either way. It all depended on how we opened, and we opened green. Whole ribbon indicator guy. There's no reason why I don't SPY doesn't go to 460. Well, I mean, based on what I see here, I have a target using my standard deviation channel. Of course, timing has a lot to do with it, with a 465, 470, depending on how long or what we do in October. So by mid-October, we could see new highs on SPY, especially if we hold this previous breakout. So I don't see any reason why. Of course, we're going into earnings season. That could fuel things. But of course, how the overall um, market does is important too. So looks good to me. Volume was okay. MACD was pretty strong. You are getting a little bit close on there, but I don't really use the RSI when it comes to SPY. And then again, MACD full swing as well. So yeah, October does end next week. But yeah, my bad. Mid-November, is that what I said? I said October, my bad. Maybe beginning mid-November we could see those highs. Yikes. My bad, guys. All right, so let's do we've got SPY, quant. Okay, so doesn't look terrible. I want to see, you can obviously see pressure here. You can see these wicks. There's definitely a lot of pressure in this zone. Um, yeah, so I would definitely want to see a push above this 330 level for sure on quant. Hopefully this is the right one. Hold on a second. Okay, so same analysis here as before. Um, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, that's kind of what I see. You're at support, so anywhere below that mark 281, I see a reversal. So all right, so y'all, I'm gonna be dead ass with you. There's not much. It's Tesla. That's all I really got to say. It's Tesla. It does what it wants. It runs off of. It has crazy news. Um, in my opinion, it has to pull back at some point. I don't know what that's going to look like. Buyers are aggressive now, more aggressive now than ever. Um, Especially with that Hertz deal. Uh, I saw flow for 1150 today. Um, so in my opinion, you could use fib retracements or pivot points if you wanted to try it that way, but you can see they haven't even updated. So the pivot point that I have above it is 11 or 1065 for Tesla, and that'll come after the wick fill, probably a break above 1050. So, and then fortunately, guys, with that, that's all you can do when a stock is running that high. You really can't. You can only look at those psychological levels or use those potential leading indicators or level indicators like this one. So I think I'm addicted to espresso tonics. They're so good. Okay. Um, all right. You guys are gonna hate my guts, but I'm gonna have to say it to you again. Volume and price action. All right. Your stock just ran from $7 to $50. There is nothing that I can do except for react. And if you don't know how to react, that's where you need to spend your time, is learning how to scalp, how to read the tape, how to evaluate volume and price action. And that's really all I have to say, because at this point, you looks like you wicked off of 57.55. I would wait and expect some sort of pullback. You could mark those pullback levels. Obviously the zone that you've established right now is $50. So $50 below you, you could see this little flag, and I think pre-market will have a lot to do with it as well. But Yeah, I mean, looking at it right now, you could use the 5 minute time frame and try to stretch something. But the way that I see it, yeah, I don't want to be too far fetched here, but you could throw this out there. I have seen this does work. I've seen it happen multitude of times. You could end up just seeing a massive consolidation pattern, and just for shits and giggles, I'm going to leave that up, because after a stock runs like that, it tends to consolidate until more concrete news. Now, where this ends, I do not know. I don't know what it's going to look like in the morning, and I think that's really going to tell the story, because my analysis today on a stock like this, it really doesn't help. The only thing I can tell you is volume and price action and evaluating that. So, maybe you see, heavy pullback down to 33.25, and then maybe a pop back up, and kind of consolidate there. So that's all I really can give you on BKKT. So I don't want to be stretching things or making it seem sugarcoating shit to make it look good. So um, this is TradingView. A little bit of both, but anything I feel intuition wise, I usually always look up whether it fits something real. So I'm gonna tweet this just for fun. I'm not ashamed of it. Did anybody grab OCGN, by the way, in after hours? I bought OCGN in after hours. I don't know if anybody else did. That one hit a nice high. Oops. That's what I thought. Yeah, for sure. All right. All right, so same story, you guys. Nothing much different here from SPY than the Qs. You know the deal. Kind of looking at this deviation channel. Small lower time frame target right now. Three again timing. We don't know the timing. 395. It's probably a good target out of this flag. Of course, earnings tech, tons of tech earnings happening tomorrow. So, yes, excuse me, RBLK or RBLX is Roblox. Wow, excuse me. Um, anyway, you have a daily bull flag. You're sitting on that 9-day moving average. Does look like you're going to continue to the upside. Of course, healthy pullbacks could occur. I think tomorrow, as far and also let me throw this out. It's always important to look at the economic data. Um, Tomorrow we have why can't I click on it? Oh, it doesn't have it. Retail inventories and wholesale inventories, relatively high impact, and then accrued. So just like to make sure that I check the data. Okay, so as far as I see it, looking to see if I see anything. Well, that's always sketchy, but all right, well, there's that. So if I know anything about these patterns, might see a little pullback tomorrow, another leg up to 380. That's speculative. That's lower time frame hourly setup. Then from 380, seeing a little pullback. Uh, by the way, if you guys are wondering why my volume profile is changing as I scroll back, because it's including more data as it does that. That's why, hence my point of control, which if you notice lines up with the highest volume on the volume profile, hence the point of control. You can notice the resistance and support and chop that you find around this area. You flush through the point of control, you flush through it, you bounce off of it, you get a good bounce. So that's just in case anybody was wondering on that. So I think in the meantime, running up and then seeing a little pullback, of course, earnings has a whole hell of a lot to do with that. But in the meantime, I think a short pullback tomorrow, maybe if you gap down, even better. If you gap down, that's great, because if we end up gapping down, then you can go and fill that gap to the upside. But this is purely speculative too. So if you break this pattern, absolutely blown anywhere above 380 without the retest. So if you don't see any pullback, then I would expect that. So all right, just double checking my work here. Yeah. All right, so I'll be honest with you, this is another one of those charts I really can't do much with, except for, again, pivot points, volume, that type of thing. Sometimes I'll look at this, but a lot of the times it's just forced, and doesn't actually line up with anything. Oftentimes nothing. Um, so it looks like it does move very in a pattern in which it makes those new highs, pulls back almost 50% and then runs. You can see the same thing here, runs up, pulls back more than 50%, and then reverses and runs. So I would expect to see no change in that trend, unless the volume breaks and moves continuously higher. But I don't like this type of movement on a stock. It means that as soon as the shorts really want to get a hold of it, they probably will, and I would be leaning. I would want to know exactly why this stock moved. Period. So, um, all right. All right, so this is aftermarket, this wick, this bar, so I'm gonna exclude it. I'm gonna chart through it. There you go. So breaking downtrend, fought to hold that level, pulled back, retested the very same downtrend that it broke, bouncing, and now retesting that same level. Looks like 39.50, and it looks like you got a rejection. Oh, excuse me. That rejection happened in after hours. So yeah, you actually gapped down, which could end up playing out in your favor as you would want to go for the gap fill at the upside, but that may not happen on play. So what is he pumping? Yeah, those dudes are fools if they don't think that their one tweet is going to. They know that. I mean, it would take someone stupid to deny that their tweets um make stocks move, especially low float stocks. So if you know that it doesn't have the fundamental value to back it, then you're pretty much pumping dumping all the time. So I gotta be honest with you. I would watch for a retest on play, a 38.71 before trying to go and retest downtrend. Again, you can see that downtrend's really clean here. So looks like you're setting up for a potential break of resistance above 39.50, and then you could see you could see continuation the downside if you get a meaningful rejection here. So oh, CNTX. That's why it looks like that. That's why it looks like that. And again, I would want to look at the financials, but I mean, as long as he keeps pumping it, this is not. This is heavy shorts too. Shorts are definitely trying to get in here. But yeah, this is not the most beautiful price action ever. But anyway, um, FTs. Shee. All right, what are you doing? This is the most ugly chart I've ever seen in my life. All right, so this is another one of those tickers, guys, that again, I would just set levels. I would look for curls. I'm sorry, I've got so much. Jeez Louise. But FTCV, I really hate doing this to you guys, but uh I mean, I think on the daily there's a better setup, with this dynamic looking support here. Doesn't look terrible. Um, but then at the same time, it's kind of hard to get a good read on where this thing could potentially be going, but it does look like it's squirting out and breaking downtrend here. This actually, for some reason, reminds me of space, but that's kind of what I see here, and that's kind of stretching it. And I really don't like to do that because, honestly, uh, yeah, I mean, like that's what I would naturally do, and I don't want to find out till later. So I mean, like you could go all the way to 1258. That would make sense, and then you could hit a downtrend. But I would just go by levels on this thing and mark your levels out on the daily. So levels are going to be, and you've already seen a multitude of them. 1065 is a level. 1085 is another level. Right here, it looks like 11 and 1110 is going to be a level as well. Um, uh, for FTCV. Again, news, sentiment. momentum all more important than just the analysis here, because obviously it's not really following any particular analysis. So those are some levels that I see above you, though. All right, so I was talking about supply and demand on Snapchat. Here it is, right here. So I think that Snapchat could slowly but surely build a reversal pattern, which is going to make it hard to short to the downside if it can't hold this level. I think it goes down to potentially 48. There's also another $50 level. So it could just go and hit $50 as a retest before starting to curl back up. That's what I think so far. There's still downwards pressure, not a ton of it, but that's kind of what I see right now happening on Snapchat. The price action today wasn't the best. It wasn't really in favor of anything. You actually have a divergence here from the MACD to the actual price action here. So I would anticipate potentially further downside. I think everybody's waiting to buy the dip, but $48 and $50 are two levels that I'm watching on Snapchat to the downside. Mm. All right, Disney. All right, so we're playing Disney tomorrow. This has a wonderful setup right now with the EMA crossover potential, 9-day moving average crossover. I'm looking to take this one to 175. There's a couple different levels I'm going to be watching. Expiration, of course, has a lot to do with whether or not you're going to hold through it or whatever the case may be. But a couple levels that we're watching, of course, this previous high, which we haven't been to. If we gap up, that's going to be unfortunate. Probably going to go ahead and take a little bit of profit because I don't like gaps. But my first target is going to be right here for a day trade. That's going to be 172.82. If we get a rejection there, then we may end up consolidating further around this level and dropping right back down. So it's going to be one of those things where try not to get too eager. But I will be anticipating that breakout there. Second level above that, and the reason why I have these levels marked out because it's not going to be that easy to get into the gap. So for Disney, again, I want to see a strong push. I want to see good volume that'll indicate whether or not we have the strength to make it into the gap. So the gap is what I'm looking for on Disney. That gap starts at 174.50 and closes at 176.55. So got it. Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate it. So one of the main things that I want to offer you guys is oftentimes technical the companies like you're saying that they're merging with eToro. That's things that will add stability to the chart with good volume and price action. But right now they lack stability in the chart because of lack of that stuff. So thanks, Matt. But anyway, that's Snapchat on the short term. As far as the long term is concerned, of course, or midterm, if you will, this is one of those charts that there's a couple different arguments as to what is happening here. My thoughts are it just now is tapping a support, but you can see that there's multiple bounces here off of this particular support showing strength. So I would anticipate hopefully a push, especially, and this is something to keep in mind, above 173, because that's going to be one of the biggest levels for Disney to break, and it does have earnings coming up. So there's a good potential that they don't allow Disney to move and break up to the upside. Hopefully they do. But Disney, all in all, does have a decent setup for a reversal. You can see every indicator here to the downside losing strength, and lots of big wicks down here. So um, all right, Neo is going to be relatively easy. So Neo is in a standard deviation channel. It's really beautiful. Right now, currently sitting around that 4150 mark. The next level above you is quite simple, 4350, and then 40. I'm going to call it at $46, but that's where you're potentially going to hit your downtrend. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And again, another stock that's running into earnings in just a little while. So um, and we closed really strong. So expect maybe a healthy pullback tomorrow, but whether it depends on, obviously timing has everything to do with this. I don't know how long. Hopefully it doesn't trade flat into earnings, but if you continue to run up, those are a couple levels that I'd be watching on Neo. And again, it had the reason I'm coming up with that price target does have to do with where our downtrend is at. And so $46, 46.55 are potential levels depending on the velocity, and we could run off a Tesla still too. So um, all right, so I answered this one on PayPal. Not a really great look as far as a reversal. You ended up popping up, ripping, and then absolutely reversing and flatlining, which I'm sure is going to have people anticipating further downside. But the fact of the matter is that PayPal does, in fact, have a gap to the downside and doesn't really look don't really see any signs of reversing quite yet, but you could make a pennant. It all depends how price action goes here. It's a little too early to say, but anywhere below 145, there's a gap fill all the way to 141. And I may end up setting a couple alerts here and shorting PayPal to the downside below $45 to fill that gap, and then maybe even buying the bounce for a potential reversal. So don't be surprised if you see a little wick there and then a bounce back up. Hopefully we can see back around 250 on PayPal. So it doesn't look terrible at all either. All right. So Nike filled its multitude of gaps. If you go down the hourly, those excuse me, I think it's might be the 4 hour. Um, where are you at? All right, well, there it is right there. That gap was filled 158 and more. So you did get a nice break in downtrend and really nice curl to the upside. I think you're going to continue to see further upside. Um, based off what I've seen. But you may see again, anytime you break out, there's certain levels that you hit. 164, 165 is a level that I would anticipate seeing some resistance on Nike from. Now we are approaching holiday season. A lot of the times Nike will run in anticipation for that. I have my resistance wrong, but so anyway. Hopefully you don't get any type of breakout retest anywhere below 162.14. You could see a pullback, and of course above today's high of 164.73 you have 165, and then above that I see the level of 167.50, and I'll mark those out and you can kind of see why. So right there. Um, okay, so oh yeah. Okay. So it looks like a falling wedge. Ooh. Sh- Ooh, that looks good. 115.25. 115.25 on Starbucks, where we saw that rejection today. That's where I want it. The reason that I want it there is because on the daily, we have a gap to fill. That gap starts at 117 and closes at 118.30. You did end the day with a borderline dragonfly doji. You did in red, but I would hope to see a break above, like I said, 115. Um, Looks like 115.25, a leg up to 117, and then a potential gap fill there. And honestly, I think we might actually end up running up here. I will say, and I really don't care because uh, I'm gonna go ahead and just say, I play earnings, and I do a pretty damn good at a job at it, and I'm probably going to continue to do so because I think that there are opportunities like Starbucks to play the upside and the downside with a risk to reward ratio that is winning, no matter what. The only thing, and can go with any play, it could open up flat, right? And there's a less likelihood that that occurs than anything else if you pick your targets correctly. So Starbucks is one that I would eyeball whether or not it pulls back or not. I'd probably eyeball setting up a straddle, which means that I'm probably going to go out maybe next week and or maybe depending on the premiums, depending on the date, and I'm going to go out to the upside. I'm going to pick targets like the gap fill, like 118, and pick support like contracts like 111 or even 110 to the downside. And depending on the cost, of course, you have to do a little bit of math there, but you tend to, yeah, you can pick out things that tend to win. So, as long as you are not, and I think it's bad risk management that causes people to lose on earnings. If you have a small account, don't play earnings. There you go. It's that simple. Or if you do, because obviously nobody's going to stop you, make sure that you're playing something that is within your risk and that it's not going to affect your account. Because at the end of the day, all of it's a risk, so to some regard. So almost every prediction in the Discord I've seen that has been correct. Thanks. Uh, Yeah, Discord is always going to be real time. I trade live in the Discord every day, but yeah, I honestly think Starbucks looks pretty good. I'm going to add that to the watch list for tomorrow, and it's probably going to be fun because a lot of times you can switch from those big betas like Microsoft and Apple and slide over to things like Starbucks and um, Disney. So thank you guys. I appreciate those kind words. All right, so SE, ouchie. This thing, but this thing sucked. I didn't. I was hurt. It hurt me. No, I wasn't in. I didn't. I wasn't red. But we did see some pretty cool price action as far as now. This sucks, but it's really crazy because we pulled off a couple of different moves in one. And I'll show you what that is. So what we had is a uh, downtrend breakout retest. Um, So right here, you end up retesting this level right here of 335, which was a major level that SC has struggled with, and then you end up bouncing. And I missed the bounce play on SC, but of course, wasn't watching it after it dumped. I set a couple of alerts and I was waiting for those to get off. But SC tomorrow, it's really clear for me. Get back above 350. Simple. Get back above 350, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw the price target potentially 360. Of course, timing has everything to do with it, but that's only if we get above 350. If this does, if this is future downside, and again, that bounce here is more bullish than bearish in my opinion. If it does end up breaking to the downside, I think it would out of this little pattern here and probably end up reversing, and anywhere around 345. Below 345, you could anticipate potential downside from there. But I like it for a potential. I still like it long. So this is one that I'm going to set lots of alerts on, especially around 350. And I set MACD looks like it wants to roll. Everything looks like it wants to go up. So that one's probably going to be back on my watch list tomorrow. And I will tell you, it's probably bigger capital type ticker on SE. So yeah, so watch it tomorrow. Again, 345 to the downside and then 350 to the upside. Target on this one, 358 minimum, 350 max. And then to the downside below 345, 340, this low right here, 341.85. This wick fill, right, as well, 330, 335. And then below that, 332.40. So those are all levels that I would be watching for SE. So all right. SE. Oh shit, I already did that one. All right, guys, we have just a few more minutes, and I am going to go ahead and shut it down. Unfortunately, if I just can't keep getting to all the tickers. I'm trying to think of a system where people who do not want to be in the Discord can still participate in, because obviously $60 a month is different than YouTube. Can still participate in the YouTube. So if anybody has any ideas, but one that could be a little bit more private, and because what I want to do is free days like Mondays, and then Tuesdays get back in the Discord after hours, or in and potentially another resource for people outside of the Discord to hop in as well, and then again back into helping everybody out. But when I do lives for everybody, unfortunately, if I was to chart, I'd chart the entire U.S. market before the end of it. So I do, Sergio, I do upload all these streams. Yeah. Okay, so trip hourly break and downtrend showing that bullish setup here. Target 341.81. Second target 335 on the dot, and then third my hourly 208 EMA at 35.65. Daily time frame on trip. All right, y'all ready? I'm trying to think of how to word this. Do not take your eyes off of trip. I only heard from a little bird, and I don't know the resource of that bird, but I do trust the individual that the bird knows. Um, I think that we're going to have, and earnings is getting really close. I think earnings on Trip could be historic based off of the information that I'm not going to disclose because it is information that I don't even know if it's viable or real. But I did hear from a trusted resource that they're looking to have a good good season, and that their stock price should reflect that. And I have seen some crazy flow all the way up to the $55 strike to the upside. TripAdvisor is one that I would recommend writing down, put it on a post-it note, and it's probably going to be one that I do play for earnings, as the premiums are relatively low, and I think I'm going to straddle it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab probably somewhere around a $30 put, and I may even grab a $45 call on that one. I haven't looked at the chain yet, but that's kind of my plan. So 30 put, 40 call, and that'll probably be closer to earnings season. But that's all I'm going to say on Trip. Other than that, nice rounded bottom. But let me tell you something, all right? Let me tell you a thing, okay? A lot of the times you got to look and anticipate. And if Trip, which it's not going down, which I mean it could, but it is not going down, it curls, right? And just gets back to previous highs, that's $65. So that's a pretty damn good run. Might be worth a leap, but yeah, that's all I got to say about Trip. Okay. I'm going to keep rocking out here for a few more minutes. Hopefully, I can get to each and every one of your tickers. I stopped taking them at BX, so what is this? Yeah, you know what I mean by wrapping up. I meant like a few more tickers. You've never seen me trade live, have you? I say I'm going to go ahead and head out, and then all of a sudden something that I've been watching for a month decides to break out, and there I am for another 3 hours. Um, I think the one thing that people cannot take from me is you don't have to sit at your desk as long as I do. Period. The best traders, and the only reason that I am there, a lot of the times I am tempted to trade. It is something that comes with the territory. But a lot of the best traders don't have to trade all day, and that's the goal. You don't want to have to do that. I think people trade all day because they feel like they're going to miss out on something. But newsflash, you're going to. You're going to every day, all the time, 24/7 for the rest of your life. Continue to miss some play. It's not going to be your fault. It's just going to rip, and you're not going to know it. You're not going to see it. It's just going to be like, oh God, and then there it is. It's gone. So, uh, anyway, enough ranting. So, Deck is one of these stocks that I like to go ahead and set levels on because you can see it kind of moves very. I don't want to say robotically, but you get like these nice volume or these nice shelves pop up to these highs, and then you kind of hold them. Good supply and demand type chart here. So looking at it right now, you got a decent sized rebound, but you are approaching earnings tomorrow, or excuse me, on the 28th. So you don't have a whole lot of time. It looks like so far on your lower time frame, look at right there, and look at right there. You are channel trading. So more than likely you're going to continue to do that. Watch for a pullback tomorrow, 379. And then maybe even a pop back up going into earnings around, you might even see 400, who knows? But that's what I would expect here is continuation in the channel, the deck channel. Pause. Okay, maybe two. That's right. That's funny. All right. All right, so we'll look at what is on the screen right here. And if you have any other questions tomorrow, we'll be on bright and early again. So All right, so Lulu here was a little bit of a disappointment due to it deciding to break out without your boy, but it is what it is. So right here, kind of arguing with myself about the reliability of this pattern, but just using the body of these candles, I think this is a safe bet to expect. You could even look at the waves. You've seen three solid waves from Lulu before you see a pullback. And you also, not to mention, just tapped up against your previous highs. You didn't actually hit those highs, but you did rebound here, and it's crazy because I literally mapped this all out. You guys can see right here that I don't remember when I posted Lulu, but it was one of those things where I was off by a couple of dollars and it ended up rebounding, but this one does not have earnings until December. So this is one that you could see just a nice pullback, and then potentially another leg up. And that's kind of what I'd be looking for here. Again, you did make a flag, so above 430 with good volume. Again, you could see another leg up, but looking at this support here, right? Anywhere below this mark, that's probably going to be 424.85. You will likely see Lulu pull back, and that pullback level, there's a couple of them. 420 is the first one, and then right below that, I have 417.25 and ultimately 415. So I'm live every morning at around 8:15. I do not trade live every day. For the most part, I trade live in the Discord. There's just a little bit more for me. I don't want, like, I like trading live. I like being accessible to everybody, but I also like to there's like a little bit more responsibility. Uh I can talk to I know who I can say, hey, who in here has taken this play, and I can see how many people have taken this play. But on TikTok, I have to say how many people have taken this play. There's also 1,000 people asking for SHIB. There's like 9,000 other messages, and then you have a delay on YouTube. So I don't always trade live on these platforms, um, but I am live every day. So, alrighty. Okay, so CYN. Guys, I am talking in the on the YouTube. So if you guys are watching, I can ask or answer some questions. But once I get done here, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off, and I'll be on for in the morning. So, um, Fabricio, if you check below, I did oh, Duncan, thanks for the disclaimer. All right, bro. You already know I'm about to hit you with the I have no fucking yeah, I have no idea. All right, so let's see what we can do here. If I was a doctor and I saw this on the chart, that's better. But this, let's say, sir, your patient is no longer with us. Man, I wish it wouldn't show the gap. It makes it really hard to chart. Look at it. As soon as it shows the gap, I can't see it anymore. Okay, that looks like hot dog water, but it's probably going to be one of those things. If it follows CNTX, it's going to look just like it. If you look at CNTX, it moves up almost barcode like just supply zone retest, almost like a weird set of stairs. So right now, heavy shorts sitting at these levels all the way up to $10. All the way down to this 850. Definitely downwards pressure. You're seeing momentum tapering as well on the MACD. Doesn't mean it's over, but it is temporarily pulled back right now. And if it does close anywhere below $8, things are going to start to get a little bit hairy on CYN. So again, don't know anything about it. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look into Urban Outfitters. I don't really know anything about their stock. I do know their store has some garbage quality, but that doesn't always matter. Okay, so Square, tough one to wrangle today, with weeklies anyway. I was trying to scalp this one, but it never had solid momentum. So first off, I still have, and it's weird because it shows a gap sometimes, but this isn't like the most perfect setup on Snap or on Square. I think I think we could see a retest tomorrow, but I'm gonna let you know that this thing is likely, if it doesn't go and fill and head to 264 and reject, more than likely we'll see Square somewhere around 265, 267. I do think it's going to pull back as it approaches earnings, or at least stay in range. I think a reliable support that you can go ahead and mark for yourself is right here. Um, and that could be where and we don't know this yet, but if we do end up falling tomorrow, this is where Square stays. Okay, so that's the only thing I have for you now, because unfortunately I need to see future price action. But that's kind of what I'm, and this doesn't mean shit, but I do chart SQ every day, and the chart changes all the time. So an SQ has been whipping my ass, no cap. So I've been getting out of it green, but yeah, just rewind. I'll post the chart um on I'll post it on my thing, my Twitter for you guys. So, all right. So I'll save these for the morning, and or if you make sure to follow my Twitter, I'm going to screenshot these and send them to myself, and I will, if I get a spare moment, which I should have, I might throw out a couple charts there on Twitter for you guys to go ahead and check out. So, but anyway, as always, thank you guys. For hopping in, joining in. I do appreciate you guys very much supporting the channel. We hit 6,000 subscribers today. That's pretty cool. Now I need to get start making all of those cool type of things where I look really scared of the chart ticker that I'm posting. But once I start getting those cute little things, I'm sure I can grow this, and we'll start. One of the goals here with the YouTube channel is to start some sort of podcast. So, do I like TD? Yeah, I do. Make sure to ask me in the morning, 8:30 tomorrow, Eastern time. So, yeah, oh, fuck. So watch list really quickly. Disney for tomorrow. Disney, Upstart, Sony, Starbucks, SE, Trip. And I do have a little side piece on Oracle. But we'll see how that goes. And that's my watch list for right now. I told people today to throw tomatoes at me in the TikTok, and they did, so it was pretty funny. But anyway, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it very much. You guys have a wonderful evening. Sleep tight. Don't let well, if you have bed bugs, go get a new mattress. Move out of that apartment. Congrats on the tomatoes. I mean, congrats on the 6K. Yeah, thank you. Thumbnails. See, I really need it. Guys, I'm out of my element here. I'm really good at stocks and some other things, but all of the other stuff is new for me. So, thumbnail is the word that I'm looking for. It's a default. That's right. My skills on YouTube are on default. So, all right, guys. Have a great night. I appreciate you guys. Peace. The Twitter is in my bio.